Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is June 14th, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. I'm feeling great. Um, let's see, we just get right into the personal corner, the me shit. I called off today. I took a little bit of a me day. I said, you know what, Isaiah, you're worth it. Go ahead and do it. And we dialed it in. That being said, what did I do with my day? Well, I did a little bit of like kitchen chores, a little bit of that stuff. Took out some garbage, nice stuff. Easy peasy, efficient. And I needed to go on a beer run, so we did that. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna treat myself to lunch. And I went to McDonald's and got a large fry, a plain double cheeseburger, and then a McChicken. And it was and a large Coke. I pretty much am always gonna get a large Coke because it's like made in a lab. That Coke, it's crazy. So yeah, it was all very simple and easy and yummy. I got a good ass nap in today. It was nice. It was nice to kind of just chop my week in half a little bit there. So sad I gotta go back to work tomorrow, but hey, today's today. Still have the rest of the night. But yeah, overall good. Vibes are high. High. All right, let's go ahead. Take my classic intro break, whatever. And then we'll go ahead and get into some news, a little bit of coverage. Oh yeah. Okay. Artichokes. Um, from the Politico. I don't think they added the. China using secret base in Cuba to spy on U.S. Biden admin official confirms. Um, so this was some news from last week. I know I'm kind of delivering you some old news a bit here, but China has been spying on the United States from a base in China. A Biden administration official said on Saturday, claiming that this is an issue that the administration inherited. Now, I believe the Wall Street Journal was like the first to report on this, saying that China had been in conversations with Havana to establish a new spy base on the island nation. And then the same day, the White House and the Pentagon said that the report was inaccurate, but they didn't go into any details. But then they later go on to say that this was actually something that's already been happening. Like, it's already happened. This base is already a thing, and you guys are just now finding out about it, more or less. And I believe with this base, the intent was they have like this, like this, I don't know what it is, this technology, let's say that, and it allows them to like literally just take data information that would be going to a satellite and just like extract it. So they essentially are getting a lot of access to just the going ons in America from Cuba. So this is something that is like, oh my gosh, red flag. Oh, it's so crazy. Oh, this is like, I listened to something that harkened it back to the Cuban Missile Crisis time, like the Cold War shit. And I don't know. I think that energy is weird. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Spying does not freak me out as a citizen, as a civilian. Like we live in a superpower. Our nation spies on like everybody. Of course, there's going to be nations that have the ability to spy on us, and they are going to do that. So like this really wasn't big news to me, but I did hear it over a couple times, and of course found this article. So I figured, hey, just talk about it a little bit. That's kind of the long short of it. There were what is it, congressmen that came out. Mike Turner from Ohio, he was grumpy about it. He had things to say, as well as Mike Gallagher. Several people there's like a whole panel of people, and they're like, "What? Like, we should have been informed on this." Like, okay, dude, all right. But in terms of like the whole inherited part, I'm like, of course it's something that you go over and you understand. You look at the filing and all that kind of shit. Like, oh shit, like there is a spy base over there. All right, well, I guess we'll handle that. That's a real issue, and it just never really comes up because it's just another day at the fucking office. Let's see here. Oh yeah, also something I want to interject. We're kind of moving to the next news thing, but I kind of realized I don't have it on the docket. But I'm sure you've heard more Donald Trump news. Yada yada yada. The indictment thing. He pled not guilty. Him and his person who's also accused, Will Nauta. I don't think I talked about him the last time you mentioned it. But I mean, that's the thing. Protesters were out. Honestly, I mean, it was literally like, even with them setting and organizing and pushing this event to happen, this protest, fire for Donald Trump, there was like maybe 1,000 people total. And you have to understand that, like, within that group, there are like, oh yeah, the crazy people with the outfits and the get-ups and the big fanfare. Then there's a bunch of people covering them, and then there's also people doing the security, to make sure that this isn't going to be a crazy ass fucking event. There's not going to be a January 6th. So, I mean, it was kind of an overblown turnout. He came, he went through a little underground thing. He, said not guilty. Actually, he didn't say not guilty. His lawyer team did. I mean, there's talks about, like, is that going to be his permanent lawyer team? They say that they are going to be. Who knows? Who fucking cares, honestly? We'll see how this pans out. I am curious to see if how the verdict's going to go, how the trial's going to go. Even the pacing of it, because, like, I've heard some people say that it's going to take as long as, like, 2 years to get this all said and done. Who fucking knows? And if that's the case and he wins, then obviously this probably isn't going to be a conversation. So, I figured, hey, I'll mention it on the episode. Here we go. Boom. Mentioned it. So let's go move on from China, from Trump. Let's actually go on to the old UK. Let's see. Associated Press. Nottingham police say man fatally stabbed 3, stole van, and ran down 3 more in English City. Let's see here. A knife-wielding assailant stabbed 2 college students to death in the streets of the English city of Nottingham, and then fatally stabbed a middle-aged man, stole his van, and ran down 3 pedestrians in a shocking rampage early Tuesday morning. So, obviously very tragic. There's no release, at least as of this article, of what the motive was. But I do know that, like, the police, like, they kicked it into high gear. They were chasing this man the whole time. And, he gets into the van. There, then becomes like a car chase. I think they eventually wind up pinning the van or something like that. And they wind up getting him out, and he has this large knife. They have, like, taser guns. Though I did read from this article that they even had armed police on the scene. So I feel like that's something that's very rare to see in the UK. Not so much the knife stuff. I know a lot of people being, oh, there's knife crime, oh, it's everywhere. If you don't have a gun, it's still knives. But you rarely see an event, at least from what I've covered so far, where there is like an armed response from the police. That's just like, it's not common. Usually they have their little billy clubs, and this is the first time I'm even hearing really a taser getting used in a situation. So I was like, oh shit, okay, yeah, they busted it out. They busted out the big shit, at least for them. And honestly, mind you, a rifle is the big shit for them. They didn't like bust out a fucking tank, they didn't have fucking LL Cool J with a fucking rocket launcher. But yeah, I mean, obviously this is a sad event. It's really fucked up. No motive's really gonna explain this fucking shit away. But yeah, I mean, damn. I think though, in terms of the people who were hit by the vehicle, like the van incident, they were just injured, so that's good. But obviously the fact that 3 people died, that's very sad. Yeah. But yeah, that's the news over the, across the pond. Let's go ahead and move on to some other stuff. It's actually not positive or more positive. It's all downhill from here. I'm sorry. From Reuters, Russian missile attack kills 11 in Ukrainian president's hometown. I feel like I haven't done much coverage from Ukraine lately. I know the counteroffensive is going. Just some quick off things I've kind of known that I haven't really talked about. I think they've gotten like a few more villages in the Donetsk region. So I mean that's something. On the other side of it, I know there's been like Russian defenses that have gone well to the point of they have even taken back some of these like Leopard tanks or whatever, or Abrams tanks. I can't remember which one, but essentially tanks that were given from the West have been like procured by Russia, or at least they've like have pictures of them like chilling, like yeah, we on this shit now. So obviously that doesn't look good. That's a bad look. But I believe on both sides they really haven't deployed any like main troops, any like main ground troops yet. So we'll see. It's still, I guess, in its infancy. It's still revving up. Who knows? But in terms of just the news at hand, 11 civilians were killed in a Russian missile attack that struck an apartment building and warehouses in the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's hometown of Kryvyi Rih on Tuesday. Emergency services said 4 were killed in the apartment block in the apartment block and 7 at the warehouses, where officials said a private company stored goods such as fizzy drinks. So yeah, I mean, and this was not a military thing. This is just a show of force, just to say, hey, we hit you up on your block, bro. Like it's that. It's the same mentality, just between two nations. Very sad. Because I mean, it's not like this is doing anything except literally killing people. But yeah, I mean that's the scene from Russia. There might be some more stuff that we cover in a future episode, but we're seeing. I'm seeing how the news kind of shakes out, and see if it's gonna be. It's kind of slow. I'm gonna say it's kind of a slow news week, if you will. It's a lot of like, yeah, Donald Trump. I'm like, bro, we get it. Like he said, not guilty. Like, can we just move along? Like, there's other shit, and you look under the log, and it's like, not really. All right. Well, we got one more thing to cover. And when I say that, I mean I think it's hard. It just depends on what you're interested in. And I don't know. I try to cover the news that I am interested in. And if it doesn't really move me to want to talk about it, I kind of go, oh, okay, I'm just not going to cover it. So, it's kind of how this works. That's the format. Oh, yeah. All right. From NPR, Southern Baptists say, ooh, you got me. Southern Baptists say no to women pastors. Uphold expulsion of Saddleback Middle Megachurch. Okay. The Southern Baptist Convention, or the SBC, voted overwhelmingly Wednesday to uphold earlier decisions to expel 2 churches because they have women pastors. Now, I don't know too much about this convention. This seems like some big gathering. And like the church that I had formerly went to, we had like almost similar gatherings, I'm kind of imagining. But at the same time, maybe not, because I don't think there was as many stakes involved in terms of like no one was doing any big votes on like the future of our congregation at large at these things. They were just like big mixers for people to hang out and like, be merry and like, oh yeah, God is so good. Now I imagine they're doing that here at these like big conventions, but I guess they had a big vote that actually like to like uphold these 2 churches that were on the outs. They were expelled from the whole of the congregate, I guess, the big slew of these churches that are all combined. Let's see here. But the decision came during the group's annual meeting in New Orleans. The SBC heard appeals by California megachurch Saddleback and a smaller church, Fern Creek Baptist, in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, essentially, the big controversy at hand here is about women being pastors. This is something I'm pretty sure I've talked about before on the podcast, but across a lot of Christian religion, it is a big no-no for women to actually be called pastors, to be like actually leaders, heads of the church. It is maybe somewhere in the fucking Bible, one of these fucking versions of them, where you're supposed to be a man at the helm of the church. If you're spreading the word of God, you're supposed to have a penis. I don't fucking like that. Like, it's something that when I was growing up in the faith, maybe this is just because I'm a fucking millennial ass bopper, whatever. It just didn't make sense. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I know women in this congregation who are more spiritual than I am. Like, I don't understand what you're talking about. I've learned from women, so why can't a woman, quote unquote, teach me? Like, we literally had to change the verbiage in my church. Now, my church was not Baptist. It was non-denominational, which to me I just describe as like freestyle. Like, you just pick and choose what you fucking want, and that's it. If your congregation agrees to it, that is the Christianity that y'all subscribe to. Obviously, you're trying to spoke it all off of whatever the Bible is saying. Now, I mean, the ins and outs of what like a Baptist, religion is, I'm lacking there. But this just kind of it rang a note to me. This like the idea of like, no, if you're a man, you can share, or you can share the word of God. But if you're not a man, it's got to be something different. You can't be at the top. And these two churches, or at least this mega church, they argued like, no, like, we're not saying that you guys are like wrong or anything like that. We just want to have the right to exist. That's really all that we're doing. Like, if you guys want to say, hey, only men can share the word of God here or in your church, cool. But in our church, just let me do it. Like, let me cook. Like, and I personally think that's fine. I think that's crazy that we are holding on to these like draconian parts of the Bible and saying like almost like as if like a politician holds onto the Constitution, like, well, I'm just sticking to the script, brother, sister. That's what this is about to me, and people are gonna hum along to that, men and women. Like, it's very. I'd imagine it's very hard to be a feminist in a religion. It's hard. It's hard to be anything that's different from a religion in religion. That's not necessarily the reason I walked away from it. I had my own fucking shit, but yeah, I mean, like I said, this is just something that kind of rang a note to me. It's definitely a bummer that the congregation, the people that voted or whatever, seemed to side with this, and they wanted to stick to what they said, that you guys should not be a part of this. That's a shame. I mean, obviously for the mega church, I mean, they're a mega church. They're going to be fine. They're going to be moving along. That organization is going to be cranking. They're getting their tithes. But I mean, obviously it's a bummer in general, and I'm sure for the smaller church, it's definitely like, it means something to be a part of these churches, like the get-togethers, the experiences. Like, when you're kicked out, you're more isolated, and that kind of sucks, and that can definitely hurt your church as a whole. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought this was an interesting story to cover, so I figured we'd end on this. Really no silver linings today, all L's. But that being said, I appreciate you tuning in, and I appreciate you being a friend. Let me, I gotta shill. I'm sorry, I gotta do it. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. If you'd like to help out, support the podcast. Also, get you newsy status, get you a shout out once a month. Let's see, free ways to hit me up. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Also, I have a Discord if you'd like to join. There's Facebook, there's Twitter. We have the Instagram. There's the YouTube if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell on all that kind of stuff, all those notifications. Let's see here. I think that's all we got for you. But obviously, just thank you so much for tuning in. That is the most important part. You being a listener, a friend. That's awesome to me. I love that. So heart emoji. And yes, hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.